Hi there, Cindy Pope here at the Cool Tools Studio. I wanted to share a project with you using Phoenix clay, and it's an elegant drop earring with a cushion cut setting. Okay, I'm going to show you the tools we're going to use to create these elegant drop earrings with a cushion cut nano gem. I'm going to be using Phoenix Torch Fireable Clay. You can fire it with a torch or in the kiln. I'm going to use an applicator brush. I'm using my ball burrs and my stone setting burr to create my holes. I'm using a little teeny tiny brush, which is always useful, a scalpel, and this is the cushion cut stone punch. So you punch this to set the stone. This is the Lost in Wonderland texture. These are nano gems that are blue sapphire, and they look very much like tanzanites. They're very purpley. This is the crystal drop template, and this is the elegant chandelier graduated template. Use water, oil, and I always use tiles in my work to cut on. I'm using a silicone roller, and I'm also using the Teflon Cool Tools roller. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make earrings using an elegant crystal drop template. I really love this template, and you can change the shape and the size. I also made these from Phoenix using Lost in Wonderland, which turned out really pretty, and of course the wonderful precision hole punches. But we're going to work on this one today. And I'm going to start with some clay, and I like to condition my clay. Karen Trexler recommends kind of rolling it out to get it a little softer, and I do that naturally with all my clays. You want to get it, they're very elastic. You just want to get it in really nice shape. You can also do it with your fingers. This is an unbelievably dense clay, and the fired result is different than anything I've ever seen. To me, it seems most like cast silver. And I've used almost every silver clay out there. And this one, the look and feel of it is really different, and the final results are beautiful. So I think I've got a nice conditioned clay. I'm going to add some oil. And this piece is straight clay, so I'm not going to put any texture on it. I'm going to use 4 cards. Because they're pretty small, I can go a little bit thicker. With this clay and Easy 960, I go much thinner. But today we're going to go 4. So I'm going to fold it over and roll it out again. I like to do that and change the direction. The color of this clay is different than any of the other silvers, but finished color is just stunning. So once I've got it rolled out, when I'm going to do my cutting, I put some oil on a tile. I never want to cut on this or Teflon because I'll ruin it. And this shrinks 15 to 20%. So what I used was this particular template, and I'm going to cut 2 of these. And I made them, I cut it back a little bit. And I'm also going to cut these little shaped bezels. And bezels, you know, a lot of people use circle bezels. I think it's interesting to do kind of a more elegant, interesting shape. So I'm going to make a bezel for the stone out of this, but I'm going to cut first with my stone cutter because I have a hard time centering it properly. And so I'm going to put it on and then punch through, pull out the square, and then orient. Everybody has different amount of spatial ability. I cannot get that straight unless I do it this way. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And it's just cockeye a little bit, so if I had done the outside shape first, I would have had to redo it. And then this has little marks on it, so you can center where it's at, up and down also. We're going to pull our clay off, and then we're going to and it's easier to pull your clay off a cutting if you're pulling it down. And I wrap it and spritz it. I've done this with my clay since I first started. While you're working, you always want to cover and put it aside, and I always spritz it. Okay, so now I'm going to start to build my piece. What I want to do is I want to join these two pieces together, and then I'm going to punch through the next hole. So let's go ahead and turn this one over since I dinged up the back, which I can fix really easily once it's dry. So I'm going to make some clay slip with those little tiny cutouts. And I'm going to use these applicator brushes, which I really like to use. And I'm going to just wet pretty well the back. With what I call a really dirty clay. Because it's really dense, this is going to join a little bit easier when it's wet than when it's dry. And I'm going to make a space on here too. Put it down. One little trick I do with my bezels is, especially since this clay is has no texture on it, I'll kind of put it on the bezel and then put it where I want it and then pick it back up, because the wetness will give me an outline of where I want to rehydrate. I just have an outline of where that wants to go. Makes cleanup afterwards a little bit better since I'm only rehydrating where the bezel's going to go. And then I'm giving this, you can see the clay coming up on the surface. And that's what you want to have a really nice join. And when I do two pieces like this, once I've got the second one done, I'm going to go back and re-wet the first one. And I don't push it down until I've got it right where I want it. And then the process of pushing it down is what's going to get a really good join. Maybe 30 seconds. Once I've got it joined well, I'm going to go through, and now I have a starter hole, so I can cut my stone hole. And I'm ready to set my stone. So you could either drop this in with tweezers or put it upside down. I like to put the table on the clay surface and the point going up and put it on upside down. Not sure why I like that, but I think I get a better setting. Otherwise, they aren't always straight. And the cushion cut stone is easy because it's square. But I'm just going to give it a little tap, and then I'm going to turn it over and see a little bit more of a tap. See how it looks. Then I can straighten it out a little bit if I need to. It looks not square. So maybe this one I'm just going to do on top. But with the marquise stones, I always put them upside down. So you want to push it down in there. And this is my Princeton brush, or any paintbrush is the best pusher for me. And slow and steady wins the race until it's just in there. And these fire, when you do it this way, these fire really beautifully. So I'm going to put this on the drying surface. Okay, so what I've done is I've dried these most of the way, and I'm going to reinforce. And with Phoenix, I'm going to recommend you reinforce 3 times. And then when I say reinforce, I mean I'm using pretty thick slip on the edges. And when I say refine, that just means sand it and make sure it looks beautiful before you put it in the kiln. So you don't do that, you're going to have problems when it gets out of the kiln. So I'm going to do this 2 times, and I'm also going to put a ball on. I often, on something that looks like these crystal drops, I'll put a ball on the bottom. And the rule on that is to reinforce 3 times also. So I have some little 2mm balls, which I used with the 2mm precision punches. And what I want to do is I need to really rehydrate this surface because it's dry. And Phoenix is a lot denser, which is good because you can enamel on it and you can add parts to it, and it just is really, really solid when fired. You'll have to try it yourself to see the difference. As a longtime clay user, I really think it's an interesting clay. And I'm going to let these rehydrate in this pile of slip. So you can't just use straight water like I do with some other clays. You definitely want to use slippy water, refine 3 times, and just really make sure that surface is ready to receive the teeny tiny little ball. And once I get it on there, I take it and I rub it back and forth. It's almost like you're looking for it to catch. And then you can, once you get it where you want it, you can put a little pressure on it. Pressure always helps in joining. And once you've got it where you want it, add a little pressure. We're going to dry again and refine, and I'm going to drill a hole, and I think I'm going to take a little bit of this top off, so why don't I do that now? Because I want, it's almost too pointed at the top to put a nice size earring hole in. So I shortened them up, and then these ones I shortened up a lot, but I just love the shape. It's really a beautiful shape. It's like a crystal chandelier. Okay, so I'm going to dry it, then we'll sand to put the holes in and reinforce a couple more times. Okay, we are on reinforcing number 2. I'm going to just sand the edges. If you have, I think wet sanding is a little bit easier. I would recommend, if you're using Phoenix, to look at Karen Trexler. Has a wonderful video showing the ins and outs of Phoenix, and she uses a lot of wet sanding, which is really my preferred method. So this is a ultra fine, but the nice thing is it's really, really hard in this stage, which makes it more likely to be hard when it's fired. So before I do my second refining, I'm going to drill the holes. And there isn't, the only refining that needs to be done on the outside is where I didn't cut well. It really is really nice and smooth. Okay, so we are going to use the ball setting burr method. I'm starting with a tiny one. And although this is really hard in the green rush stage, I don't feel I need to use a flex shaft to get through this. I like to go slow when drilling my holes. So it went all the way through pretty easily. I'm going to do the next size up. And I won't make you watch me doing it twice. It will magically happen. Let's see, this one is about the right size. This is, I don't want to really do any bigger than this. And then I'm going to use the burr because I think it makes your work look a lot more finished. I want to show you one thing when I use the stone setting burr. This clay is so solid that it almost looks like this is silver already when I use a stone setting burr. It's really interesting. Okay, so we're going to reinforce some more, and then we are going to dry and reinforce the last time. Okay, here are our pieces off the heating surface. We've drilled our holes, and we're going to refine and reinforce for the third time, and then we're just going to do a little tiny bit of refining. But we are using water that is slip, and you can see what it looks like. And make sure you reinforce that little ball that we added. When you add something wet, it doesn't need quite as much reinforcing. So these two pieces we put together wet, the ball we added dry. And all we have to do after this is just refine so it looks really, really pretty, and then fire. All right, so these have been reinforced 3 times, and I'm just going to go through and I'm going to use a baby wipe to smooth the surfaces out because I used a lot of slippy water. It needs a little more refining than some pieces I do with Easy 960. And for me, a baby wipe gets into those corners. A super fine sanding sponge is also going to do some. I'm a big fan of wet refining anyways. And what I'm doing is I'm running this sideways, and it's just giving a little curve to that edge. So I'm going to do that with both, and we're going to fire this. I'm firing at 1380 for 10 minutes. I'm a 1650 kind of girl for 2 hours, and I was shocked at how nicely things turned out with a lot less time. So this fires beautifully at 1400, 1380 for 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Cool Tools Studio. I love introducing Phoenix Clay to you in a new project.